What's up, everyone? Welcome to this week's edition of The Point. I'm your host, Anna Kasparian, and I am beyond ecstatic to have Karamo Brown back on the panel.
Hey.
All right, he's been away to New York doing HuffPost Live, but he's back in LA.
Back.
Big deal. All right, if you guys don't know who he is, you're insane. You should probably look into him. He is a well-known television host that I love having on the show. Thank you for coming back.
I'm so glad to be here and be with you.
Thank you. And we also have a new panelist today that I'm super excited about, Alex Wehrley, who's an actress, a blogger, and also a TV host.
Hi, thanks so much for having me. First timer here.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm super excited because I feel like I know our regular panelists pretty well. I have no idea what you're like, so we'll see how you answer some of these.
I'll throw you some curveballs just because of that.
I like that. I like that. All right, so what are we talking about today? There is a lot of drama going on in the news, especially with Chris Brown possibly being banned in Australia. We'll tell you why. Also, Rihanna is hiring employees, and it looks like some of her standards are outrageous. We'll tell you what those standards are. And then later on in the show, we'll talk about what a gay guy, well, he might not be gay, I don't know. You'll decide for yourself. What one guy was tweeting when he went into an emergency room after a sex act. We'll tell you what that sex act is. Anyway, but first, let's get started with Chris Brown. As I mentioned, there is a lot of drama involving him, but when isn't there drama involving Chris Brown? Australia's immigration minister is possibly thinking of denying Chris Brown a visa so he would be unable to perform in a concert there. Now, one of the reasons why he's doing this is because of what he did back in 2009, where he beat and strangled his then-girlfriend, Rihanna. Now, he received 5 years of probation, 180 days of community service, and an anti-domestic violence program for beating up Rihanna. But the minister says that if Chris Brown wants to perform in Australia, he has to prove that his character is worthy of entering the country. Immigration ministers can do that in the country, and so it's very, very interesting to see whether or not he holds his promise and holds Chris Brown accountable for what he did years ago. Now, people are also defacing some Chris Brown posters that are strewn across the country. Let's give you an example. One of them is a picture of Chris Brown, and someone posted "I beat women" on it. One person on Twitter actually loves this and says, "Whoever's doing this to the Chris Brown posters in Melbourne is a champion. Nice work." Now, Get Up is a campaign that's been speaking out against Chris Brown, and here's what they said. "If we stand by and do nothing while he performs around the country, even if we don't have the faintest interest in Brown's career or pop music in general, we are implicitly sending the message that if you brutally beat a woman, in a short amount of time, you will be forgiven or even celebrated." Now, Chris Brown doesn't deny that what he did was absolutely wrong. He took to Twitter to respond to some of the critics, and here's what he had to say. "My life mistakes should be a wake-up call for everyone, showing the world that mistakes don't define you, trying to prevent spousal abuse. I would be more than grateful to come to Australia to raise awareness about domestic violence. I'm not the pink elephant in the room anymore." Now, just to respond to Chris Brown, I will give him credit for the way he handled this, because in the past, he's defiant, he's angry, he's defensive, and it seems like he's grown up a little bit. He's a little more mature. However, after the incident with Rihanna, there were numerous cases where he was accused of assault and being violent, and so he does need to prove that he's changed. I mean, I don't blame the immigration minister for doing this, and hopefully Chris Brown has turned a new leaf. He just needs to prove it. I want to know what you guys think about this. Alex, make your point.
Yeah, so I completely agree with Get Up, and I understand why they wouldn't want him in their country given his history, and I don't think he's proven himself. That is just it. You know, his stardom aside, I wouldn't want someone in our country that had that history. And oh, how convenient that all of a sudden he's raising awareness about domestic violence because he wants something. But like you said, Anna, up until this point, he's still shown so many signs of being violent.
Yeah, absolutely. Karamo, make your point.
I disagree, because you first of all are talking about a young man who's in a business where people profit off of his chaos. He's in a situation where people want to see him do bad. Also, you can't define someone for one mistake. Think about something you did at 22 or 23, and if you were to always be defined by that one moment. He's moved on. Rihanna has moved on. She's forgiven him. He's growing up as a person. We have to get to a place where we say, you know what? Let's bygones be bygones.
But how do you respond to other instances involving him assaulting people at clubs and things like that? I mean, I agree with you that sometimes we make really terrible mistakes when we're young, and we learn from those mistakes and we move on. But I'm a little dubious as to whether or not he's moved on.
Well, we're talking about beating up women, and we're talking about having altercations with aggressive fans who, as we all know, can be super aggressive and do things to you to prompt you to act a certain way. He's taking anger classes. He's making the right steps. He's a father now. I think that we don't want to automatically promote domestic violence or have anyone believe that this is what you should do against women, because we all know that's wrong. But again, just because he had an altercation in a club, think about all the other rock stars, superstars who have had those situations. Athletes. We understand what fame can do to you. He has to move on at some point. And the fact of the matter is that this situation is bringing up this conversation constantly, anytime he goes somewhere. So what he did, though it was wrong, is bringing awareness in a way that we've never seen when it comes to domestic violence. Because every time he walks in a room, someone says, let's bring up Rihanna. Let's bring up Rihanna, even though Rihanna has requested, stop bringing up the situation.
Interesting. All right, well, here's the question for the story, personal question. Is there something that you've done in your past that keeps coming back to haunt you? Alex?
This is not very comparable to the Chris Brown situation, but on a much lighter note, about 6 years ago, I modeled for Buck Hunter.
Okay.
If you don't know what Buck Hunter
Really?
is, it is a game that you find in arcades and bars, and it's totally not inappropriate, but very, very quirky. And to this day, they're still around. So I'll have friends that are like in a small town in Wisconsin, that's a state that I'm from, they'll totally send me pictures next to me, like blowing a kiss in a little two-piece camo outfit, you know? It's like, oh my gosh, I did that 6 years ago, like before I had a career or anything. So it's just kind of a funny thing that keeps popping up.
Please, someone in the control room find that photo right now. Please, someone. Can we get that?
Yeah, we're going to victimize
It
you.
wouldn't be
Exactly.
the first time that it popped up on a show either.
Exactly.
So funny. Karamo, what about you?
Something I've done that I regret or that pops back up.
Yeah.
The real world. Like
okay, all
every
right.
goddamn moment, people are like, "Oh, do you still do this or you do that?" I'm like, "Give me a break." I was 22 years old. That's what I can feel
I was
for
22
Chris.
at the time
See,
too.
so you
It all happens when you're in
Yeah,
your
you're
low
22,
20s,
so
right?
I feel Chris's pain. Like,
Yeah, I
let's
hear
move
you.
on.
I don't know if there's anything that haunts me per se. I mean, I started doing the show when I was like 20, so I said a lot of dumb things that sometimes will come back up, and I just kind of brush it off because, you know, you've grown and you've moved on, just like Chris Brown possibly.
Possibly.
But I would say I had a fan meetup in Chicago very recently, and one of the fans came up to me and said, "Hey, I'm a huge fan of yours. I still watch the show every day, but my girlfriend stopped watching because of the way that you covered this one story." And it was a story involving a woman who had like surgical procedures done to modify her ears so she looked like an elf. And when we covered that story, we were unbearably cruel to her, you know? And it's one of those lapses in judgment where you let your own biases and your own judgment kind of take over the way you cover the story. And so his girlfriend used to be a fan, and now she's not a fan anymore. And I'm really sorry. That was a while ago, and I really do regret the way that I covered that. And it doesn't come up too often, but it comes up enough for me to realize what my mistake was. So yes, you got to be careful with what you say and what you do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, tell us what you guys have done in the past that keeps coming back to haunt you. We do want to hear from you, and we do want to know what you've been up to. So comment in the section below, and we'll see you soon. Rihanna has officially trademarked her name for a clothing line, and the clothing line is known as Fenty Corp. Now, recently she tweeted about this, and she showed us the employee handbook. And it's unclear as to whether or not she was joking, so let's just put that caveat out there. But if you look at what the employee handbook says, it's a little cruel to say the least, okay? So the photo shows crazy regulations like the amount of time you get for a lunch break and how it depends on your weight. So if you take a long lunch break, 30 minutes, it means that you're underweight and she wants to give you ample time to actually eat something. If you're at a normal, healthy weight, all you get is 15 minutes, okay? Because 15 minutes is enough to have a healthy meal. But if you're, quote, fat, you only get 5 minutes for lunch because that's all the time you need to drink a Slim Fast. And then there's the dress code, and you guys can read all this for yourselves. Also, when it comes to sick days, each employee will receive 104 personal days. They're called Saturday and Sunday. Now, again, I don't know whether or not she's joking or was she serious. I mean, I venture to say that she's joking around. But if she was serious, that's ridiculous. I mean, obviously she's breaking labor laws and things like that. That's why I think she's joking. She can't just put that out there.
Yeah,
Karamo.
she is joking. I mean, there's a point in there where she says you have to wear, part of the dress code is you have to wear a $600 Gucci bag. So she obviously knows that no one is going to be able to afford that. And I think when you start dissecting it, you see even the sheet of paper that it's on. But it's funny. It's comical.
Yeah.
This is her first corporation she's starting. She's probably making light of the fact that she doesn't know really what's going on. She's trying to learn right now. She probably saw this somewhere and said, yes, this would be a good thing. I mean, her hit song was Bitch Better Have My Money. And the only way you can get your money is if you do some shit like this.
Rihanna is the most unapologetic person
Most
on the planet.
unapologetic, yeah.
You know, like people will criticize her and she'll be like, so? And there's something admirable about that, even if she does or says something that might offend you personally, right? What do you think about this, Alex? Make your point.
I agree. I mean, first of all, it's gotta be a joke, but I love the fact that she's not apologizing for it. You know, I would be like 2 seconds later, JK, I didn't really mean it, you know? But like she's leaving us wondering, even though I'm sure it was a joke. If you treated your employees like that, you are not gonna get the productivity that you need to run a successful business. And after a year of not meeting Rihanna, you're gonna be like, okay, I'm going over to Nordstrom's.
Yeah, that's a good point. All right, so the personal question for this story is, what rule, legal or illegal, would you make your employees follow if you own some sort of company or corporation? Karamo.
I would say, I was thinking about this because I have several. Like, I hate when people have to wear shoes at work. I think people should be able to take their shoes off. But then I was thinking the biggest,
Are you crazy?
No, I hate it.
Okay.
I hate shoes. You know, then we'll stick with that one. I hate shoes.
You are a gay man who probably has very nice, taken care of feet.
Oh, no.
There's lots of straight
My
men out
boyfriend
there who
does.
don't take-
Me, mine's are ugly.
They are?
Yeah.
Really?
Like,
okay.
Now I'm taking a look.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah, they are a little
Exactly.
ugly. No, just kidding.
But I just think I think when I'm working and I'm especially with how we work nowadays at our computers, it feels good just to slip off your shoes and be able to walk around your office and do whatever. First of all, women with heels, you all do it all the time and you get away with it, but men, we can't do it. So there's a double standard there.
You can do it if you want. I'm not going to hate on you if you wear
Let me
those
take
heels.
off my shoes. Okay,
Alex, what about you?
See, I would be the opposite of what Rihanna tweeted. I'd be like, you're required to do an hour of meditation in the morning. I want you to do yoga at lunch. I want you to have your green juice in the afternoon and bring some zen to this community.
Oh my God, I want to work for you.
That's like
sounds
Apple.
awesome.
Isn't Apple like that?
Apple,
Google, all those
Google,
tech
yeah.
companies.
Yeah.
See, they've got it right. They're getting stuff done.
They really are.
So
That
I'm
would
going to
be
give a little
awesome.
quick trade secret on that. The last job that I just had a meditation room, and the employees had sex in there.
Oh
Boom. And
my
the company that I'm
gosh.
talking about knows who I'm referring
Wow.
Oh
Damn.
my God.
That sounds fun.
Were there cameras? Were there hidden
know,
cameras?
yeah.
Were the employees having sex with one another?
to. Employees were having sex with one
Oh
another.
my God,
And it was
that's
like
drama.
a thing that they just knew, like after hours, if you got there early, you hook up.
I mean,
And that's
moving
what they were
meditation is a thing.
Moving meditation is a thing. So
That's so funny. I would actually be super strict about backstabbing and shit talking because I've seen firsthand what it does to a company. And when you're working for a company, you guys are working together, you're a team. So if I were a CEO and I heard any type of shit talking, I mean, that would be an immediate grounds for termination. It'd be that simple. Like, I just hate that hostility.
I agree.
I've experienced it. It's a shitty feeling. You want to come into work and have a good time, right? So that's what I would do. Anyway, tell us what you guys think. What would you do if you owned your own company? What type of rule would you enforce, whether it's legal or illegal? Comment in the section below. Tell us what you think, and we'll see you soon. What type of pickup lines are the most successful on dating apps? Well, Hinge, which is a dating app, did a study into this to figure out what is the most effective way to get someone's attention and what's the least effective way. The results are kind of surprising. So apparently Hinge experimented with 100 different opening lines to find out which got the most bites. And the lines varied in length, structure, content. They selected 22% of the users at random to take part in the experiment. Now, they found out that the lazy greetings like, hey, what's up, performed the worst. And I find that surprising because I hate the cheesy pickup lines. I like the simple, hey, what's up? But apparently a lot of people disagree with me. Let's take a look at some of these charts and give you some examples. So 2 truths and a lie, ready, set, go, actually performed the best. 31% of the users were very responsive to that. Sunday priorities, exercise, sleep, or aggressive mimosas also provided pretty good feedback. All the way at the bottom, you see, hey, what's up? Apparently lazy responses don't do well. Breakfast preference. Do people really ask that? I mean, if someone asked me that, I'd be like, why do you, I don't
why do you
know
care?
you. Right, waffles. So look, I think that this really depends on someone's age. How old you are probably has something to do with whether or not you respond appropriately or favorably to these pickup lines. Again, I like simplicity. I don't like the cheesy stuff. Some person who was trying to hit on me recently sent me a text message that said something along the lines of fuck, marry, or kill. Have you guys heard of that?
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, what? I don't know what that is. Please don't waste my time.
Please explain.
Yeah, but what do you guys think? Like, what works with you, Alex? Make your point.
So I'm married now, but when I was dating, I always dated in the old-fashioned way, meaning I met somebody in person, and I liked simple. Like, just talk to me like a human. Just come up to me and say hello. But I understand now in the dating world, you don't get to see all that nonverbal body language. You're just going off of a picture a lot of times and reading something. So that is your opportunity to show personality. So I kind of get why the personality-oriented questions do well.
Yeah, I get that too. You're right. It adds a little flavor to something that probably wouldn't have any flavor otherwise. Karamo, what do you think? Make your point.
Just say hi. Like, that's it. Like, you know, the whole, like, even with the fact that we're in a world now where it's all about dating apps, photos, what you say, the minute that I get something that's too gimmicky or anything, I'm turned off. I'm in a long-term relationship now, so, but even before, I still have men that hit on me through social media, women who hit on me, and anytime I get some foolish, hey, you were looking good there, or like, you know, or whatever, and I saw on there like Katy Perry versus Taylor Swift. I've had that. I've had someone younger ask me, who is that, thinking that would be a cute way of engaging me. Get out of here. Just say hello and ask me how my day is going, and then we'll start from there.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. I think with the internet, you run into a lot of inauthentic people, and authenticity goes a long way with me. And maybe not with everyone, but I'm just speaking from personal experience. I just want someone to show me who they are. That way I feel comfortable enough to respond back to them. Well, here's the question for the story. How do you reject someone that you have no interest in? Alex?
I call it the emoji sandwich. You start it with emojis, and then you go straight to the bottom line. I'm not interested, and then some more emojis.
Damn, keep it at 100.
I know, exactly.
I love that. Okay, you're way ballsier than me. I'm weak when it comes to that kind of stuff. I have such a hard time telling people that I'm not interested. So I'll usually come up with lame excuses like, oh, I'm just not ready for a relationship right now.
And I like,
or I'll ghost, which is the worst. Don't ghost. Don't be that person. I'm that person. Don't be that person. Karamo, what about you?
I tell people I have a small penis.
Oh.
What if, you know, there's like a fetish out there.
By the way.
There's a fetish out there for
There's a small
micro-penises.
penis. Really?
Yes.
We did talk about that. Micro penis. Yes. So I haven't met those individuals yet, thank God. But usually when I tell a guy that my dick is small, they're so kind of turned off that first of all, I went to that place. And then secondly, that I have a small dick, that they're like, you know what? I'm good on this, you know?
That's so funny. Oh my goodness. Well, what do you guys do if you want to reject someone that you're not interested in? Do you let them off lightly? Do you keep it 100 like Alex does? Or do you just straight out put out an outlandish lie about your dick? I don't know.
Exactly.
Comment in the section below. Tell us what you think, and we'll see you soon. In the age of oversharing, one guy on Twitter took things to an extreme level. Apparently, he was having a little fun with a sexual object, like a dildo, put it up his rear, and as a result got it stuck. So he decided to live tweet his experience at the hospital. We give you examples. All right, so televised Snowmang is his name. And he said, yo, guess who has to go to the hospital because he shoved a dildo up his ass and can't get it out? Answer, it's me. More tweets. I looked at the woman at the ER desk dead in the eye and said, quote, there's no other way to put this. I have a vibrating dildo in my ass. He also tweeted to Energizer and said, fuck you for making your batteries last so long in dildos. And also, a brief update, dildo extracted, battery lasted about 7 fucking hours. Good for Energizer. I shat the bed afterwards. Okay, I'm tired as heck. All right, and then finally, his last tweet was, life lesson, when using a vibrating dildo, attach a string to the end. I'm gonna be completely clear and honest about this story. Is it likely that someone in the past has accidentally put a dildo in their butt and it got stuck? Sure. For some reason, I feel like this story might just be made up, or at least he was making it up. Yeah, he put the x-ray up there, but it doesn't really necessarily mean anything. But for the sake of the conversation, let's pretend like it's 100% true. How do you get a dildo stuck up your ass? I feel like all you need to do is try to push it out the way you would push out, you know,
I've never had one, so like, I've never had a dildo up my ass. I know.
I like how I'm looking right at
I was
Karamo.
like, I've never had one up my ass. I've stuck dildos in people, and they can get lost.
Wow.
They can. We've talked about it before, I think on the live show, where a woman had a sex toy stuck in her for years, and she didn't know. And so it can happen. You know, I'm not surprised.
How the fuck do you
by
not
that.
know that you have a sex toy up your vagina or your ass? How?
We've all had those drunken, crazy nights where...
Not that crazy.
Okay, not that crazy.
Not that crazy.
But here's the thing: isn't that what it's for? I mean, like
Yeah.
there should be some kind of disclaimer that says
Yeah.
what goes up will not come down. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it's for, right?
Completely.
I know, it's kind of an incredible story.
I
All
just
right.
don't buy the whole that it was vibrating for 7 hours.
It might have. It might have.
Yeah, that would
As someone
be
who,
some super
As
batteries.
someone who's done extensive research on vibrators, some batteries can last a pretty long time. So I don't know. I do prefer Energizer over Duracell. Just keeping it real.
Boom.
Okay, but Duracell, if you want to be a sponsor, I mean, I'm not hating.
Exactly.
All right, so here's the question: what's an embarrassing moment that you've had in the bedroom? Alex, I'll start with you.
Well, a source, and by a source, I mean my husband tells me that one time I fell asleep.
Oh my god.
Let me explain before you deem me as the worst wife ever.
No.
It was a late night. We had a few cocktails, and girl just needed some beauty sleep.
And
Okay.
yeah, so...
That's so funny. That's so funny. I feel like it's happened to the best of us, or at least like you've gotten really close to falling asleep.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, even if it's good, that has happened. So you're not a bad wife.
Yeah.
We're on your team.
Thank
We're on your
you.
team. I think, like I told you all before we started, that I've had many crazy sexual and embarrassing situations. But I think the one that would probably be the most embarrassing is orgasm in my own eye, and then having the person I was with, who I just met, have to take me to the hospital because
Oh my
I couldn't see.
gosh.
So like shot right there, and then was like, I can't see, so I can't drive. Can you drive me to the hospital? I don't know your name really, but
So does that really happen? Like I've heard.
oh yes.
Really?
Yeah, like so now.
What do porn
overshare.
stars do?
I know.
know?
I have to cover myself because I'm a shooter when and so it just do that, and then porn stars, like they say wash it out, but it burns so much when you get
Oh, goodness.
That's
Like
amazing.
I always see
known.
those porn stars, those girls that like have multiple men orgasming on
Yeah.
their face, and I'm always thinking like, you're a brave soul because that pain was worse than anything I've ever experienced.
Oh my god.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, that's.
On that note.
On that note,
No, I give you guys credit for sharing your stories. I'm very tempted not to share mine, but I'll do it because I'm a serious journalist here. I think the most embarrassing thing that ever happened with me was a long time ago. I'm like young and I'm buying into all of these like glamour magazine tips on how to spice up your sex life. I went to Victoria's Secret and I bought lingerie, and I'm thinking like, yeah, my boyfriend's gonna totally be into this lingerie. Like, lingerie is so fucking cheesy. Like, who's really turned on by lingerie? Okay, anyway, so I go and I buy
same
it.
people who are turned on by micro penises.
Probably. You know what guys are usually turned on by? Nudity.
Nudity.
Like
Yeah.
just
That's
being
it.
naked, right?
Just be naked.
Anyway, so I show up and I had like lingerie under a dress, and then like you have to like reveal it in a seductive way, which also feels cheesy. So I'm like, "Hi, I know you're gonna go to work, but I want to show you something." Right?
Sexy.
And he couldn't get it up, so it did not work. That memory still haunts me. It really does. It was one of the worst experiences
Was he
I've
gay?
had. No, he wasn't gay. We just had no sexual chemistry.
Oh.
So
It wasn't you, it was him.
Yeah, exactly. But honestly, lingerie sucks. Maybe some people are into it, but I'll never spend money on lingerie again. Maybe because I've been like haunted by this.
That one
terrible
moment.
moment. Yeah. All right. Well, tell us what you guys have experienced. What's the most embarrassing moment that you've had while having sex? Comment in the section below. Tell us. Share your stories. We do read them. We do respond to them. So don't be afraid and make your point. Unfortunately, we end the story on a depressing note. The CDC has released new statistics on the number of women who binge drink while they're pregnant. So the study by the CDC indicates that 10% of pregnant women in the US have had at least one drink a month while pregnant. Now, before people start freaking out about that statistic, 10% is pretty low, and also having one drink per month while pregnant is not going to destroy your pregnancy and it's not going to lead to birth defects. However, the report suggests that pregnant women who binge drink tend to do so 4 to 6 times per month or more than once per week. Meanwhile, binge drinkers who are not pregnant tend to keep it to 3 episodes per month. It appears that pregnant women binge drink even more often than their peers. Now, I should also note that for those of you who don't know what it means to binge drink, it means that you've had 4 or more drinks in one sitting. Basically what every American does when they go out. So that's what binge drinking is according to the CDC. Now, of course, there are lots of risks to an unborn baby if you're doing this. He or she could suffer from fetal alcohol spectrum and also physical and behavioral problems. I don't really have much to say about this except for the fact that there are a number of red states right now that are starting to criminalize women who are pregnant and have any type of substance abuse problem. So if they're drinking or if they're doing drugs and they get caught, they will get prosecuted for it and they'll get thrown in jail. And the reason why that's a terrible idea is because you want to give these people help. You want to rehabilitate them. If you prosecute them, it'll actually deter them from coming forward and seeking help. So we have a very backwards way of handling the situation in society, and hopefully we learn from our mistakes in the past. But unfortunately, red states who claim that they're pro-life aren't as interested in rehabilitating these women as they are basically forcing punitive consequences. So I want to know what you guys think about this. Alex, let me start with you. Make your point.
Yeah, I really think that what these women need is help, because it's one thing if you're just having 1 drink a month. There are enough doctors that say that's okay. But if you're having 4+ drinks, you know that's not okay for your child, that you could harm them. I don't think any mother would actually have the intention of wanting to harm their child, so they have a problem. Maybe they're alcoholics or on the border. They need help because ultimately they are harming themselves and their child.
Absolutely. Really good point. Karamo, make your point.
Where are the families, the father, the support systems, where is the doctors who actually have to work with these women during their prenatal care? It's so many different things that, to bring up to your point and your point, I don't think a mother would intentionally want to hurt her child, but we have to look at where are these support systems that are supposed to be in place to support women while they're pregnant, because that's a key factor here that we have to start looking into, because clearly these women had some type of substance abuse issue before they got pregnant, and it wasn't handled. And so where are the people that were in their lives to say, hey, you are now pregnant and we should step in and support you because you need this extra support. This is a very trying time of your life. Being pregnant, I can only imagine what a woman goes through mentally, physically. So
it's tough.
Yeah, so
it's
if
really
you
tough.
already had a substance abuse issue, this is only going to compound it and make you want to do more erratic behavior. And so I question those individuals that are in their lives.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, some people might not have a support system, which makes the situation even more terrible. But at the same time, for those who have family members and friends, it is your responsibility to do some sort of intervention and help this person out. So here's the personal question. What's something that's bad for you that you do regardless of how bad it is? Karamo.
I tweet.
That's
what it is. Because every time I get on Twitter, I start going off. This morning I had an interview with NPR about an article that I wrote in The Advocate, and the asshole told me that it was about HIV in the Black gay community.
Yeah.
And he was like, you know what, I've changed my mind. It's 6 o'clock in the morning. I'm up to do this fucking interview that you requested. And he's told me that he doesn't think it's a serious issue. And I was like, you white privileged Southern son of a bitch. And I went to Twitter and went off. And immediately as I did it, my agent called and was like, take that down, take that down, take that down, take that down, take that down. And I was like, yeah, so tweeting is what's bad for me.
Yeah,
and
it's gotten me in trouble too.
Yeah.
Good point. What about you, Alex?
So I have an addiction to keeping up with the Kardashians. It is a problem. I know it's bad for me. I know indirectly I'm promoting narcissism and materialism, but it's like that train wreck that you can't stop watching. It's so good.
I
it's
love
like
it,
crack.
sister. Team Kylie.
Right?
Oh my goodness. A lot of people are on the same boat. I mean,
Yes.
when I had TV, I definitely watched reality TV shows all the time. The Real Housewives was just one of them, which is so trashy, but it's so good.
Yes.
Okay, so for me, the bad thing that I do is I share too much about my personal life on Instagram. And I was warned like a few weeks ago about how sharing pictures with my boyfriend is a bad idea if I want to grow my fan base, because you're supposed to sell this fantasy to your male fan base. And my response to that was no. I'm not going to sell a fantasy to my fans. That's ridiculous. Like, I want to be as real as possible with them. If they like me because they think there's a possibility that I'll date them in the future, then I don't need them as a fan. Like, I need them to watch the show because they like it, because they enjoy it, because they get informed by it. So that's the one, I guess, bad thing that I do. And if you look at my Instagram page, Anna Kasparian TYT, you're going to see all sorts of things about my personal life. And I love sharing that with the audience. Yeah. So, all right, guys, that does it for the show today. Tell us what you think about the past story we did. Comment in the section below. And also, I want to make sure to give our panelists an opportunity to plug some of the work that they're doing so you can find them and follow what they're doing. Karamo.
Sure. You can actually just follow me on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all at Karamo Brown. And go to karamobrown.com for more updates. I'm a writer, and I also host some different things. So.
Get it. Get it. All right, Alex Wehrley, thank you for coming on.
Yeah, thank you so much. This was so much fun. And you can find me on social media, of course, at Alex Wehrley, AlexWehh. Oh, it's on the bottom of the screen. It's hard to spell, but you got it now. And also use my hashtag EmpowerRista. I do tweets that empower women. So participate, and we'll see you on social media.
I love that. All right, guys, I'm Anna Kasparian. You can check me out Monday through Friday from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern Time on The Young Turks. We do a live stream, so check that out. YouTube.com/TheYoungTurks. And I'm also on Twitter at Anna Kasparian and Instagram at Anna Kasparian TYT. Thank you so much for watching, you guys. I love reading your comments, so don't be afraid to comment in the section below. Tell us what you think. And if you haven't subscribed, please do so. We do a weekly show that, of course, covers some viral topics with some really great panelists. And remember, never be afraid to make your point. And it looks like some of her standards are outrageous. We'll tell you what those standards are. And then later on in the show, we'll talk about what a gay guy, well, he might not be gay, I don't know. You'll decide for yourself. What one guy was tweeting when he went into an emergency room after a sex act. We'll tell you what that sex act is. Anyway, but first, let's get started with Chris Brown. As I mentioned, there is a lot of drama involving him, but when isn't there drama involving Chris Brown? Australia's immigration minister is possibly thinking of denying Chris Brown a visa so he would be unable to perform in a concert there. Now, one of the reasons why he's doing this is because of what he did back in 2009, where he beat and strangled his then-girlfriend, Rihanna. Now, he received 5 years of probation, 180 days of community service, and an anti-domestic violence program for beating up Rihanna. But the minister says that if Chris Brown wants to perform in Australia, he has to prove that his character is worthy of entering. What's up, everyone? Welcome to this week's edition of The Point. I'm your host, Anna Kasparian, and I am beyond ecstatic to have Karamo Brown back on the panel.
Hey.
All right, he's been away to New York doing HuffPost Live, but he's back in LA.
I'm back.
Big deal.
All right, if you guys don't know who he is, you're insane. You should probably look into him. He is a well-known television host that I love having on the show. Thank you for coming back.
I'm so glad to be here and be with you.
Thank you. And we also have a new panelist today that I'm super excited about, Alex Wehrley, who's an actress, a blogger, and also a TV host.
Hi, thanks so much for having me. First timer here.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm super excited because I feel like I know our regular panelists pretty well. I have no idea what you're like, so we'll see how you answer some of these.
I'll throw you some curveballs just because of that.
I like that. I like that. All right, so what are we talking about today? There is a lot of drama going on in the news, especially with Chris Brown possibly being banned in Australia. We'll tell you why. Also, Rihanna is hiring him in the country. Immigration ministers can do that in the country, and so it's very, very interesting to see whether or not he holds his promise and holds Chris Brown accountable for what he did years ago. Now, people are also defacing some Chris Brown posters that are strewn across the country. Let's give you an example. One of them is a picture of Chris Brown, and someone posted, "I beat women" on it. One person on Twitter actually loves this and says, "Whoever's doing this to the Chris Brown posters in Melbourne is a champion. Nice work." Now, Get Up is a campaign that's been speaking out against Chris Brown, and here's what they said. "If we stand by and do nothing while he performs around the country, even if we don't have the faintest interest in Brown's career or pop music in general, we are implicitly sending the message that if you brutally beat a woman, in a short amount of time, you will be forgiven or even celebrated. Now, Chris Brown doesn't deny that what he did was absolutely wrong. He took to Twitter to respond to some of the critics, and here's what he had to say. My life mistakes should be a wake-up call for everyone, showing the world that mistakes don't define you, trying to prevent spousal abuse. I would be more than grateful to come to Australia to raise awareness about domestic violence. I'm not the pink elephant in the room anymore. Now, just to respond to Chris Brown, I will give him credit for the way he handled this, because in the past, he's defiant, he's angry, he's defensive, and it seems like he's grown up a little bit. He's a little more mature. However, after the incident with Rihanna, there were numerous cases where he was accused of assault and being violent, and so he does need to prove that he's changed. I mean, I don't blame the immigration minister for doing this, and hopefully Chris Brown has turned a new leaf. He just needs to prove it. I want to know what you guys think about this. Alex, make your point.
Yeah, so I completely agree with Get Up, and I understand why they wouldn't want him in their country given his history, and I don't think he's proven himself. That is just it. You know, his stardom aside, I wouldn't want someone in our country that had that history. And oh, how convenient that all of a sudden he's raising awareness about domestic violence because he wants something. But like you said, Anna, up until this point, he's still shown so many signs of being violent.
Yeah, absolutely. Karamo, make your point.
I disagree, because you first of all are talking about a young man who's in a business where people profit off of his chaos. He's in a situation where people want to see him do bad. Also, you can't define someone for one mistake. Think about something you did at 22 or 23, and if you were to always be defined by that one moment. He's moved on. Rihanna has moved on. She's forgiven him. He's growing up as a person. We have to get to a place where we say, you know what? Let's bygones be bygones.
But how do you respond to other instances involving him assaulting people at clubs and things like that? I mean, I agree with you that sometimes we make